Okay, Laura. So,
Hi, Richard.
hi. How are you?
Well, thank you.
How are celebrity divorces different than normal, everyday divorces?
I think, and I've said this in the book, divorce is the great equalizer. You can take or add a few zeros, and the fear and the anxiety and the anger and the sadness is the same. The real difference between celebrity divorces and other divorces is media. And so what I try to do when I have my celebrity divorces is really focus on keeping a case out of the media. But besides that, no matter what you're going through, whether you're worrying about who's going to be your date to the Oscars next season or who's going to come to the office Christmas party with you, it's a scary time, and if you handle it with the kind of grace and compassion for your kids and your significant other, you can get through it a lot more quickly and a lot more cost effectively.
If a divorce goes on for, say, a year or so, what would cause it to go on that long, and why wouldn't someone want to settle it?
A year actually isn't a terribly long period of time. It's a 6-month waiting period in California from the date that you file and serve the other party until the time you could actually get divorced anyway. There's a lot of financial information that needs to be exchanged. Sometimes people need to marinate with the idea that they're actually getting divorced before they can move forward. When it goes for longer than 12 months, you start to get into a situation where it's dragging, and whatever fond feelings you had for the person in terms of getting it over with quickly may start to dissipate a little bit. So I generally think 6 to 12 months is the right period of time, but that obviously depends on the situation.
And if it extends longer than that, do you think it's usually finances?
No, sometimes it's just one person not really being ready to cut the cord.
Okay, that's interesting. So we all know about the Kris Jenner, Bruce Jenner separation.
Do we?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
And you're the expert on divorces. It would seem like they don't have a prenup and it might be amicable. What kind of advice would you give either of them?
Anybody that I knew that was going through a divorce, I would advise them to be compassionate, to be reasonable, and to be brief. And I don't know the situation of that scenario, but my hope is that they're both older, they've both been married before. Hopefully they would take their past experience and use that moving into the future in terms of whatever the next step is for them.
And for someone, and I don't know if you're going to represent her at this point, and she's not even talking about divorce yet, but someone like Khloe Kardashian who's having marital problems, what kind of advice would you give her?
Anybody that's going through this, I would advise the same thing I said before, to really be reasonable and be kind and be compassionate. And I don't know anything about either one of those cases, so it's hard to comment specifically. What
are some takeaways from your book?
Takeaways from my book are really that, and it's for everybody, it's for anybody that's going through this, and the takeaways are: do unto others as you want them to do to yourself. Treat this like a business transaction. Even if the other person's being kind of a jerk, you don't need to stoop to that level. You will do better by your children and yourself and your family if you're able to handle this in a way that is mature and businesslike, for lack of a better phrase.
Many of your clients are women. Is this book for women or for both women and men?
Definitely for both women and for men, and for same-sex couples, and for couples who've chosen not to get married but have lived together. Some of them have chosen to have kids. It's really for anyone that is contemplating going through a separation.
Are you seeing anything different with same-sex couples than with heterosexual couples?
No, it is really interesting that it's very, very similar in terms of the emotion people experience and the fear that people go through. And I think that we all have these moments of, oh my God, what's going to happen to me next? And one of the reasons I wrote the book is so that people know it's kind of a very broad brushstroke guide for what's going on and how people can get through this process without having too much emotional or financial ruin, so to speak.
What's the biggest surprise that you've learned yourself since this book has come out?
the biggest surprise is that people really, really seem to like the idea of having something that they can go to and know that there's other people that are going through the same thing they are.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Richard.